We need to take everything that's unexciting away of football. And what do we do in football? We debate if the toe is offside or not. I wrote Ball League 3.5 years ago. What it said on the front deck is the UFC of football. And what I mean by that is we need to make this sport future-proof, which the UFC made combat sports future-proof. The sport is exciting, the sport is unpredictable, storytelling is hyper-modern. We need to do similar things in football. We always have this conception that it's too big to fail, and I would say that's definitely not true. Conor McGregor, he made the UFC famous. He's a natural star, he's an entertainer, he's a storyteller. If we would rely on old guys, just like maybe the MLS is doing right now, which they're relying on the Marco Reus, on the Zlatans, on the Messis of this world to make this league successful, you need to create your own heroes to make your league big, or you never outgrow their fandom.
Felix, it is such a joy to have you here, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation, guys. It's a pleasure.
I don't think we want to go anywhere until we actually fully understand exactly what it is you're up to. So can we just get a really good understanding of what Baller League actually is?
I probably need to give you history than how I came up with it,
Exactly.
because that's, I guess, the connection. I mean, I played U15, U16 academy football. I mean, I played since I was 4 football, and then went to the academy as a 7-year-old, and spent all of my life in the academy of a Bundesliga team. Got raised to be a football pro, I guess, right? And as a 15-year-old then was getting into more the professional world of football, where you play youth Bundesliga and stuff like that. And as a 17-year-old, stopped playing football forever, and
Why?
went to the. I didn't see myself becoming a pro football player for multiple reasons. I don't know. I never enjoyed being in the dressing room talking about cars or women or any of that, which is, I mean, without spoiling anything to you, that's the typical conversations you have in a dressing room as a football kid, as a 17-year-old. I didn't see myself there. I also didn't enjoy it anymore, not being able to drink beer or eat pizza whenever I want, because then on Mondays you get poked in the ear and they see how much sugar you have in your body and all of that. I got an academic scholarship from the US, and I thought, look, if I'm maybe focusing a little bit on my academics, maybe I'll get a career there. And that's what I did. I got a scholarship to go 1 year to the high school in the US, to my senior year. So I graduated high school in the US and then had a scholarship from Penn State, and I did that. And for the first time, you're also allowed to do other sports than football, because contractually you're not allowed. So I did all the sports. I played baseball, I played American football, I played everything. Basketball, I'm obviously too short, unfortunately. But I tried everything. I saw the rise of the UFC. I saw how the US approaches sport entertainment when I was there. This is 2007. I went as a 17-year-old to the United States, and then I've stayed in the Philly area. And then basically I saw how they approach sport entertainment, fashion, music, and all of that. And I always said, look, I think football, which is the biggest sport by far, we shouldn't even measure anything else just because it's so big, so much bigger than anything else, really. So I said one day I'm gonna try to Americanize our very traditional football in a way when it comes to franchises, music, fashion, all of that. So then, long story short, I saw the rise of the UFC and I analyzed what they did to a slowly dying sport of boxing. And I looked at the graphs of the Big Four, of the data that's out there, the data that's out of the Premier League. And I saw a huge correlation between boxing and football, like really, really big when it comes to fans, audience, community, how the sport is being almost like becoming more unentertaining by the minute and by the day. So I said, look, if I can do what the UFC did to boxing, which is make a slowly dying sport entertaining again while approaching hero storytelling, I might have a case.
Can we just dig in there specifically?
Yeah, go.
What do you think the Americans and UFC do really well in sport and the delivery of sport that we do not do well in traditional and European sport?
I mean, it's so hard because we have such a big tradition in football, and especially in Germany where we have the 50+1, right? So we are against people owning a franchise. It should belong to the club and it should belong to the members of the club. That's how a German club, for example, is structured. So we should all vote who's our chairman. That's one example to explain the history where we're coming from and why we maybe don't tackle into stuff like cultural relevance, music, fashion. We build in Germany, and also that's also the case now for the Premier League or also for leagues in the US. So I'm not saying, wow, how good are the Americans do it, because they do it similar. Our leagues, especially in Europe, are built, our football leagues, around the media deal. So everything around that is we need to focus to get the best media deal, and then the rest is secondary, right? So once that media deal is getting bigger, everybody's happy. Once that media deal is stagnating or getting lower, you might face some problems. So I'm not saying the US is doing that better. That's not what I'm saying. But the US is maybe a little bit more flexible if you now take the NFL kickoff. That's the most iconic thing, how to open a game, right? For us, it's two guys pass each other the ball. For the NFL was for, I don't know how many years, it was the same kickoff. Everybody behind the ball, they run. Once the kicker touches the ball, bam, right? Let's all run as fast as we can. Now, and I didn't even get deeply in it how they changed it, but you now watch the first second of a game and you're like, wait a second, everybody's in different places. Like, that is such an iconic picture to see now a kickoff of the NFL now and 2 years ago, which you're like, you completely changed the game already just with that. Or the MLB doing a shot clock, right? MLB is a very slow game, and I think my theory is slow games are dead games in the future. So you have the MLB saying, look, we need to be faster, and what they do is they implement a shot clock. And what do we do in football? We decide, this debate if the toe is offside or not.
Do you believe then we've got to a stage of media consumption, consumer attention, that bluntly tradition, although nice, is outdated?
I don't want to say that because I grew up in that tradition, so it would hurt me if I speak that out. I think we need to be open to move around tradition a little bit. And if I analyze, look, I'm born southwest of Germany. Kaiserslautern is our club. It's a big honor to play for that club. We're a second league team now, but the only team still to go up 1998 from the second league to the first and become champion. So what I'm saying is I'm going to this city and this area now. You barely see jerseys anymore, right? And now you see Haaland, Mbappe and all of that. So I don't think people care too much anymore and give a shit where they're born. They're following heroes. So what I'm saying is don't lose your tradition, but we maybe need to adapt and say, well, if the local approach is maybe not the future anymore and the hero, and that's public data, no? We are hero driven now.
Are people bigger than clubs now?
I think this is what we are witnessing it as we speak. I wouldn't say if you evaluate the status quo right now, it's true. If we're talking 5 years or 10, I would say that's true, yeah. I would say so. Yeah. But if you take Real Madrid, Mbappe and Bellingham are not bigger than Real Madrid, right? Like this is the biggest club in the world. So they're not bigger.
There'll always be limits to it, but people follow players now, right?
They follow heroes, not only players. They follow influencers. They follow musicians. They're following their heroes and their stars.
What specifically did you change with Baller to innovate on an antiquated structure to make it better?
Yeah, so like I said, I went to the US, and then basically when I wrote Ball League 3.5 years ago, almost 4 in February. And what it said on the front deck is the UFC of football. And what I mean by that is we need to take everything away to make the sport future-proof, which the UFC made combat sports future-proof with multiple aspects. The sport is exciting, the sport is unpredictable, the storytelling is hyper-modern. So we need to do similar things in football for this sport to stay future-proof. We always have this conception that it's too big to fail, and I would say that's definitely not true. We're not talking here 10 years, we're not talking 20, we're talking 100. So if the media consumption is going in the direction it's going right now, we saw strikes in the US, right, where players don't show up anymore and stuff like that. So I think we cannot assume football is too big to fail. So what I mean is we need to take everything that's unexciting away of football.
So do you think length, like time on the pitch, length of a match, is the biggest problem that needs fixing?
No, I don't. The biggest problem by far is how the game is played, which is ball possession football. We had in 1992, we had a big rule change in football, which made the most exciting 15, 20 years of football. We took away the pass to the goalkeeper and he cannot take it in the hands anymore, right? That was after Denmark in the Euros use this very heavily to use time play. So what we did is we're not allowing the goalkeeper to take the ball in the hands anymore after a pass back of the own team. What happened? Suddenly, the goalkeepers that were heavily trained to use their hands are now in need to almost reinvent themselves as football players because they need to suddenly now use their feet. So they're getting a ball pass back, right? And they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my feet now, right? So that was hyper exciting because you could always press the goalkeeper. You knew he's going to hit a long ball possession changes. That's what happened. If you analyze football, and every football fan right now is going to shake their head and be like, yep, that's true. What we've seen is they got pressed. David Seaman put a long ball. Jens Lieben put a long ball possession change, aggressive forward playing football again. What we're seeing now is, okay, you can play to Manuel Neuer and our goalkeepers, and they could play League 1 and 3rd Bundesliga football as a player on number 8, number 10, and they are now actually amazing with their hands and with their feet. So what we're having is a riskless football, right? We're playing a riskless football because you're saying instead of going into a dribbling or playing a forward pass, you're saying, wait a second, it's not clear. I might lose it, back to the goalkeeper, reassess, shift sides, and that's riskless, boring football that no 7-year-old, no 11-year-old is going to consume. It's not going to happen. If we think it's going to happen, we're delusional. They're going to choose Fortnite, they're going to choose the NFL, they're going to choose other leagues than football.
So that's like one thing, which is like the possession problem in football. What else is broken?
I mean, that's by far the biggest, and then you have to think about media distribution. Like I said, it is built around the media deal, and we're now in need of young fans, right? So if you ask every club CEO, how old are your fans? He's going to tell you, yeah, we have a very young digital audience, which is a lie. I mean, they're fans who are in stadiums, who can afford tickets, who are affording 3-4 subscriptions on the Zone, Sky, and whatever you need. They are older than us three in this room. I would say significantly older. So you need a young audience for sport to stay relevant and future-proof, right? Or the generation is going to look for something new, which is right now esports, League of Legends, Fortnite, and all of that, because it's free to consume. So what I'm saying is, if the sport is not happening where the audience and the generations are, how is it going to be then in a now 5-year-old is not going to ask in 10 years what was first, Baller League or Premier League, right? For him, his first contact with the sport is most likely going to be Baller League.
So what are you building? Everything you said right here is super interesting. What is the solution that you've created?
Well, we're creating a future-proof sport. That's what we're creating. We don't want football to die out. Our enemies is not Premier League or Liverpool or the FA. Our enemies are esports, other sport leagues like the NFL, the NBA, cricket, and whatever. So if we are saying we are football, and we are speaking as almost socialism right now and saying we are one, the enemy is not Liverpool or the Bundesliga or whatever. The enemy is anything that makes this sport irrelevant over the years.
Explain the format.
The format is a 6-a-side, a small pitch, right? So we play on a 50 times 30 meter pitch, 6 versus 6, 2 times 15 minutes. And basically, if people say this is the modern football, it's a lie, and I hate to hear it, because all three of us probably played more under Baller League rules than we played under professional rules. If you go play with your buddies tomorrow, you don't play ball possession football because the other team is going to say, like, what the fuck is happening? Like, play forward. We play on the Baller League rules where it's like, if we're 11, we're playing 5 against 6, and we just give the good kid to the 5 team, and he's going to be good enough to make up that they're one less. And that's how we play football. Football is how it's played around the world. So that's what we have to go back to that forward, aggressive playing, hyper exciting football.
And then for the fan and for the experience, they then get multiple games in a session.
Exactly. So we have one game day, 6 games, 5.5 hours of entertainment. So the biggest myth is the whole attention span. Whenever the old white man tells you kids don't have an attention span anymore, why are they watching 4 hours of Kaisenot dancing? And why are they watching 3 hours of IShowSpeed dancing? And why are they watching average over 1.5 hours of Baller League, our average viewers?
Why are they? What is it?
I think it's authenticity and excitement. There's no excitement left in an average Premier League Bundesliga game. If Bayer Leverkusen is playing, and no disrespect, I'm good with the CEO, if Bayer Leverkusen is playing Bochum, which is 2 teams right next to each other, I have zero excitement watching that game because it's simply boring. The game itself is boring. And now the traditional romantics are going to say, oh, you're not. Please explain me how this game is not boring, looking for the clear, evident chance to score a goal. The game of the 90s created chances and situations out of nowhere, walking forward, and now we're waiting for the clear opening.
You said that like traditional leagues aren't your competition, but surely they are, like, and they will look at you as it, because you're taking away, or at least preoccupying, a lot of their future fan base.
I mean, yeah, but we're reaching out the hand now, so we're not enemies. We're saying then make a 6-a-side team.
Okay, and what about the like team makeups? Who is playing and who is involved?
So that's a hero approach. I then sat down 3.5 years ago and I wrote it, and it was the first lockdown also when I was getting deeper into the numbers, right? So this took me quite a while to perfectionize. It was like a 70-page thing that I thought make sense to one day do. And when I got into it and went to my city of Kaiserslautern and I didn't see the jerseys anymore and I saw the Holland, I said, okay, I'm not doing Munich United, I'm not doing Berlin FC, I'm doing hero-driven clubs, which is the heroes give the club identity, which, for example, Felix Lobrecht and Contra K, biggest comedian, biggest rapper in Germany, make a team together called Concrete Berlin, Beton Berlin. And they both grew up in Berlin, quite rough, and they created an identity through them as heroes. So now all of their community is natural becoming a fan, because it's like, wow, they're designing their own jerseys, wow. They're jumping up and down the sideline each Monday, acting like this is the most important day of their team. And that's basically the huge difference that we did, is that we created, instead of local clubs, we created hero-driven identities.
So who are some of the people that you've like had in there in Germany in the start to be able to do that? Because you've also had the traditional footballers coming in on both the men's and women's side.
Yeah, exactly. So we did a hybrid out of rappers, comedians, influencers, football players. So in Germany, all of the people are still the same. We're going now in the third season in January. We just ended season 2 3 weeks ago. So all of the people that joined are still the same. They're going to stay long time, right? The contracts are long. So it's Lucas Podolski, Kevin Prince Boateng, Chris Kramer, who played the World Cup final in Brazil, became champion. He doesn't remember. He got knocked out. I don't know if you remember the iconic scene, but yeah, those people.
How many people watched the first one?
First season?
Yeah.
A game day is watched by 3 million unique people.
The first one?
It was starting maybe around 4th, 5th that we did those numbers. Before we did a game day, we did the draft, which was the first time we ever went live. I think maybe over a course of 4 hours or something like that, 3 hours, 800,000 people watched it, 600,000 people.
That's a lot for a first.
Yeah, but we have the biggest streamer, we have the second biggest streamer, we have the fourth biggest streamer, stuff like that, right? So we have Lucas Podolski.
How do you get the first biggest streamer? Respectfully, you're like, hey, we're Baller League, an uncreated league.
Yeah, that was the hardest.
New format with no validation.
Yeah.
And I haven't worked for FIFA for years and have like a load of credentials. So how on earth do you get people?
That was the toughest, for sure. That took me a year of my time or something like that. No, I'm also not a famous football player. I have some contacts still from my years of football.
So what was it?
Every single one I had to meet 3, 4, 5 times before I had to go through the agents and then the managers and the manager of the manager. So it took me a year to get to the people usually until they listened to me. And once they listened to what you guys are listening to right now, I guess they were like, all right, say no more, I'm in. Usually when I talked first time to the talent, they were in.
Do you think the agent system is as broken and as bad as everyone says it is?
Yes and no, because then I meet people, who can I quote? I'm meeting Mark Bennett, CAA, he's repping KSI and Speed, and I'm meeting Adam, who's repping Dave, and Clint, who's doing the Cortez, is it called Cortez or Cortez? The street word. So I'm meeting those guys, and they're the best agents I met in my life, literally. Like, and then you meet others, who I'm not going to name right now, and you're like, are you delusional, declining before ever speaking to your client? Then a year later, the client calling me saying, why am I not in? And I'm like, I'm not sure if you want to hear it, why you're not in. But I mean, I can send you a WhatsApp or a screenshot, and then it's quite explain why you're not in, because your agent turned it down before ever listening to me.
What was the most common question you got asked by the people, by the talent, right at the start when you were trying to get them involved?
Bro, is this going to happen? You know, is this an idea or is this going to happen? Because it's easy to put a deck together, but do you have the funding? Do you have the venue book? Is anybody who signed up yet?
Well, I'd love to understand the economics of it. You mentioned game day there.
Yeah.
How much does it cost to put on game day?
In Germany or in the UK?
In Germany and then the UK. I'm intrigued by both.
In Germany, fully baked, meaning stands are up, light, rigging, security, production. I mean, we're probably 200 people on a game day, 250 people when it comes to production, security, all VIP, all of that. So I would probably say around literally everything 400,000, somewhere around there. But
Euros.
400,000. And then UK is 300,000?
Yeah, a little bit lower for multiple reasons, yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then we do tickets. Like, how do we think about monetization through tickets? Traditionally in traditional sport, big area.
Yeah, we're not worried about that. We gave tickets away, 1,500 tickets each Monday. We gave them away for free. They were then sold on eBay for a couple $100 and stuff like that. We had to take them down, but we weren't relying on ticket sales.
Why do you not rely on ticket sales? I'm a VC. I'm looking at this going, great, you can charge 40 or 50 pounds for a ticket.
Yeah, and we did for the Final Four, no? We sold out the second biggest indoor arena twice in Germany, which has 14,000 seats. We did it. We sold it out twice. We can sell out arenas in a day.
Will ticket sales be a big part of monetization moving forward?
Probably one day, yeah. But that's also where it becomes hyper interesting if you now analyze it. Are you going to have own venues? Is each team going to have an own venue? All of that. So if I now tell you a forecast, you as a VC, I'm probably lying, because who knows if this is going to be still a one venue based league or if it's going to be a 12 venue based league with each team having an own little 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people venue. So it's tough to forecast. I like the one venue aspect of this league a lot, I have to say. So easy. It's so easy. I mean, we can sell out the biggest indoor arenas in Germany. We can sell out the biggest stadiums also in Germany. I'm quite sure we could sell out with Baller League UK, we could sell out the Wembley.
You mentioned Golden Goose media rights. What about them? Where do they fit in?
For us?
Yeah.
Just like Harry is saying with the ticket rights, I think we need to build this brand, which it is. Everything is a brand after all. We need to brand this league perfectly before we open ourselves to these things, and then we can take our community and go to a platform change, to Netflix, to Amazon, to this, whatever, where we go. At the same time, for tickets, we can open ourselves for tickets, but this is about democratizing football, right? Making it accessible. So we are saying, let's build the next generation of fans, and then we're saying, hey, we want $40, 15-year-old. Well, no, they're going to give us their money down the line. We don't need their money now.
You said democratizing football. Do you think an issue in football then is that it is actually too expensive at the moment?
For the youth, 100%, yeah. Of course. I mean, what do you have to pay to watch football? £100 a month?
Over here, yeah, 500 to $3,000.
Yeah, and Germany is not far from that. In Germany, we also pay hundreds and hundreds for season tickets, yeah. And then look at the average season ticket holder. They're definitely not under 40.
What would your kind of pay-per-view, your equivalent of Sky, is that expensive to access football now?
We have Sky too. We have DAZN, Sky, DAZN, Amazon. That's the three that you need to consume football. But now that's the thing of our generation, no? Especially of yours and mine. I know you're younger, but we consume football in Germany, and I think for you guys it was more the Sunday, but for us it was Saturday 3:30. You go to your grandmother's house, and all 9 games, little bit exception, all 7 games are on at 3:30. Conference, goal in Munich, goal in Berlin, goal in, and suddenly there was like 3 goals at the same time, so they cut everywhere. And that was where you watched it with your grandmother. Now it's like, we'll have to be in front of the TV 24 hours. Where's the event character of this? It's not an event anymore because I can consume football 24 hours.
We still can't even watch our games at 3 o'clock here.
Yeah, that's a big thing, no? What is that called? There's like the
blackout, the 3 p.m. blackout.
Yeah, that's a bullshit tradition.
I never like
this idea that you won't get people going to stadiums because they can watch it at home. I understand for like you're away, but I actually don't, because the away it's hardcore fans anyway, and the atmosphere is so different. They go for the atmosphere.
I don't
it's
get
lower
it.
league. I think actually, do you know what?
You're right. Cambridge actually changed my mind on it. Yeah, if you've got a Tuesday night away game that's 5 hours train ride away,
and you have Liverpool Leverkusen on as well on the TV, and you kind of follow Liverpool a bit, but you're a big Cambridge fan.
Yeah, but then also Adam Smith's invisible hand, the market decides. You can't manipulate markets, which is basically what that is.
That is, yeah.
It's not market manipulation to encourage consumption of another good. It's, to your point, just make the product better
and
if you want consumption.
And accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the two things.
Okay, but then I would say back to you, Netflix is already accessible to the majority of kids in particular.
Yeah.
This would actually make it more accessible and deliverable and seen by more.
100%. I don't have anything to add.
That's interesting. Okay, so you would be ready for the right media partnership now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still happy to go where you can interact with the brand a little bit more for a season, right? On Twitch, on YouTube, you can chat, you can leave feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down. But the ultimate goal is to put this. I mean, this is going to be a very exciting sport, right?
Yeah.
Just like the NBA, the NFL, the Bundesliga. This is going to be a very entertaining sport, right? Plus, we have a community that we can bring along.
So you're bringing this to the UK now, aren't you?
Yeah,
Tell
we
us
are.
about what it's going to be when you integrate it into the UK.
I mean, we have to adapt for the UK market for sure, right? There's a way bigger small-sided football culture here than it is in Germany. I walked to my hotel a week ago and I look around and I think I saw 5 courts filled and they had referees, and I'm like, referees on a 5-against-5 is not something I've ever seen in my life. So the whole five aside,
yeah.
6 aside, 7 aside, that's a whole culture here. So we have to be careful to respect that culture, right? So that's why our product is going to stay the same when it comes to exactly the measurements of the field, the rules, and all of that. But storytelling, we need to be careful to have the right people to tackle that street culture.
Yeah.
Do you have like music and cheerleaders and the flames and like American drama of
So each team is usually doing some form of entertainment piece on a game day. Like we had one super viral moment. It was on game day 1, first game day ever. I was laying on the grass literally because I didn't know what to expect on this game. They know you have it all in your head and suddenly they play football and you're like, oh my God. And then we have an esport team involved in Germany, which that was the last team we signed up. They're called Eintracht Spandau. They play in like the highest League of Legends thing in Germany or whatever. And they basically got a whole band. What do you call the marching bands or whatever?
Yeah.
They got a whole marching band walking out of the tunnel instead of the team. They were like, all right, this team, Eintracht Spandau, come out. And the stadium was like, woo. They had ultras already with like their things because they're a clan, like nerds, I guess. Nerd ultras, I would call them. And then this marching band comes out and plays the hymn, what do you call it? The hymn? The hymn of the club. And I think that made like tens of millions of views on TikTok and Instagram. So they do their own form of entertainment pieces. And then our rule is though, once the whistle is whistled, the first whistle, we don't do any more goofy ass shit, right? We need to respect the game and play the rough football that we are used to play on the street with elbows and all of that stuff. We don't whistle the little fouls that are whistled in Bundesliga and Premier League that are not fouls. So we need to really respect the rules of the game. And then while off the pitch, we can do our entertainment.
When you get a viral moment like that, to what extent does that drive meaningful conversion back to core channel for next game, ticket adoption? Does it or does it not really?
It's super hard to measure because we're not on our own platform, so the pixel tracking, all of that stuff is tricky, right? Dashboards of those platforms are also not the most transparent out there, so it's hard for us to measure. What we can measure is how many people tune in regularly, come back, interact, and all of that. So what we did is over now this course of 2 seasons, our second season gained viewership, which is a very uncommon thing. Usually you have this hype first season, first game day, and then people tune in, they're like, shit product. Just like a homepage. No, you go on a homepage 1, if it's not done, you never come back. And that's comparable to us. And I guess to my guys in Germany who built this and are on ground every day, the product is just really, really, really good. And how do you're now going to ask me, because I know you're a good guy, how do you judge that it's a good product? Well, the level of football that we are playing is just on a very high level. So me as a football fan, I tune in, give it a chance. I watch it 10 minutes because I'm skeptical, like influencers out of the stadiums and all of that. So I'm going to watch it, I'm going to judge, and I'm like, yeah, I want to hate this maybe because I don't like the influencers or whatever, but the football is like, I remember the football of the 90s.
Because the influencers, though, they're just part of the broader setup, right? The players are still the top or academy players that haven't quite made it, the top futsal players, like the top freestylers. Like,
yeah, I mean, you have Chris Kramer, who just ended his career 2 weeks ago with Gladbach, a Bundesliga player. I don't know how many games Chris made, 300, 400, 500 Bundesliga games. I'm not sure. Played World Cup final, became world champion in Brazil. So he's fully fit, 32-year-old. I think Chris is a year younger than me. So coming out, ending his career with Gladbach, saying, you know what, he still had a year of contract. He's saying, you know what? Please terminate my contract. I want to play baller
Okay,
league.
right there, then your competition to Bundesliga. So you may think like, oh, that's a nice partnership.
He
We're
was
there
on
to
the way
favour
out.
each
He was
other.
on the way out of Gladbach. So yeah, he could still play with Mainz and Kaiserslautern, and he could probably still play like a lower Premier League team.
Speaking of where the revenue is, where is the revenue? If it's not tickets and it's not media rights, it's then sponsorships.
Yeah. It's probably between 85 and 90% sponsorship. We just ended our business year 1, right? 4 or 5 days ago. We made significantly amount of revenue, and the majority, like I said, 90% of it roughly comes from sponsorship.
Who are the sponsors?
We have 6. We only allow 6 or 7
Per country, per league.
per country, per league. So we had over interest in Germany, but we couldn't, because then again we hurt the brand. If we now say here's San Pellegrino, and I respect them, but we cannot do that. We cannot then oversell, because then again the community is saying what a sellout. So we did, I believe, 6, which was Nivea, Samsung, Vodafone, Gatorade, Xing, which is the biggest shop like platform around in Germany. So
How much do they pay each?
Xing I think disclose, because they made it public themselves. So that was front of the jersey for all 12 teams. That was 3 million a season, euro 6 million a year.
Wow. How do they judge effectiveness?
They have a huge team on this. I think 20 people are working on Baller League from their brand.
I mean, that's a big investment for them. If you think about it, it's like, what, 6 million there?
Yeah.
And then you've got 20.
Activation.
Yeah, and then you've got 20 people working behind the scenes, say an average of 100K. This is like
Media spend. So it's 10 million invested.
It's
So how they measure it, I didn't participate in the follow-ups anymore after season 1 of like, it was this successful or not, but they kept renewing, right? Because this was built on such wobbly feet for their eyes. Like, is this ever going to be? That, of course, we only give them a season, because they thought it might as well be a scam, right? So they wouldn't commit to more than a season, but then they had the right to renew their contract after 1 season, and all of our sponsors did.
And now you're taking it international. Are those same sponsors coming into new tournaments? Do they have the opportunity to? Or
No.
Can they,
No.
So you can only buy a country. So Vodafone can only be Germany,
Or they bid for UK too, yeah.
but they can bid for UK too.
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
and it's
Continue.
just a bidding.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to approach then, I'm going to call the CMO of Germany and say, look, we're coming to the UK. Can you connect me to the CMO of UK? And then...
But like, it's a bidding process where you have companies bid.
No, that was wrong phrased. So we wouldn't do that. Of course, we kind of need an offer, and then we evaluate the offer. It's not bidding. We don't go back and say, if you pay now 500,000 more, you get it. We declined a bigger offer for the front of the jersey in Germany.
From who?
I can't disclose, but we declined it. Why? Because Xing promised us that they're going to help our players get into jobs, get into all of these things, because I think we had 49 players unemployed or something like that. And they said, look, we're going to take care of the players that they're going to be in jobs.
Do you pay players?
Yeah.
So this is now going to be a viable career. This is going to be like
Yeah.
a salary-driven structure.
Now, new salary structure, season 3 starting in January. We have 3 contract levels, so each franchise needs to decide. I give away 2 level 1s, 4 level 2s, and 6 level 3s. Right, that's like a little bit like the NBA franchises are built. So you can give 2 times. You have the level 1 contract, which is 800 euros per game. Then you have the level 2 contract, which is 600 a game, level 3, 400 games. So that's 4 games a month. That's 3,200 euros. We're talking after tax here. 3,200 euros after tax per hour. That's really good. That's like a very high lawyer salary, because, I mean, technically, they don't have to practice. They don't have to do anything like that. Contractually, they're obliged to show up on a Monday and play.
So they do it around other jobs, basically.
Yeah.
That's not very much.
You don't think?
No.
3,000 for an hour of work on a Monday?
Well, I mean, you have to be good at football to do this. And so if you're... no, I don't think it's very much.
If you play... I don't have the research, but if you play a League 1, League 2 level football here in the UK...
It's about 120 grand a year, top.
Top players. I think average is lower than that. So then you have to imagine you are practicing once or twice a day, right? It's your full-time job.
And you're getting paid 3,000 a month.
No,
No.
I think I would say in League 2, yeah, you're getting paid less than that. my assumption. I don't know.
They're probably making in League Two. They're probably making between 50 and 80.
Yeah.
At the top level, and League One, you're up to 120.
But top players, yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, look, it's not a lot. But if you have another job on the side and you're able to do it, and you still get to play football, and also there's a celebrity stardom right to this. So actually, just interesting on that.
Yeah.
As these teams build and develop, these players will surely build profile. They will build following. They'll build like brand value.
That's what you have to measure. We have Steven Kodra, which he was a little bit the face of season 1. Typical kid of baller league. He had the potential to be a Bundesliga player. Got on the wrong path of life. I'm close with Steven, so I think I can disclose some info here. But family and it wasn't so easy for him. No, it wasn't the kind of guy who gets driven everywhere to practice, so I had it a little bit rougher. I think he had a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 followers on TikTok before Ball League started. He's now at, I need to check, but 250,000 TikTok followers.
Okay, so can they can leverage their exposure? They can leverage. You're not controlling rights centrally.
No, they're all getting brand deals right now. I think he's signed with like Nivea also.
So that's when it gets interesting.
So that's why they did. It's not actually the money, because it's 3,000. Okay, I get that.
And that's still good money for them because they all have day jobs. Like if you play a 3rd league of football, 4th league of football in Germany, you have a day job.
On the kit side, do we have an agreement with a Nike and Adidas? How do we feel about that?
No, we don't have yet. We're negotiating, so
it'll be centralized. It'll be a centralized deal with one provider.
Exactly.
What are they going to be doing? Is it providing just like shirts? Do you have boot deals? What happens with like the full package?
Yeah, it's called ankles up, the contract usually. So shoes is usually a player decision. Of course, once we do that deal, we're gonna make things possible for our players. Let's call it like that. But I think it's a little bit more modern than maybe a MLS Adidas deal, where everybody gets kits and stuff like that. We're trying to be more like a white paper for a brand and say everything that's not possible out there might be possible with Baller.
Fashion and brand is a massive part of the culture that you're like building here. Like, what are the decisions you want to make when picking the right partner here? Who do you want to be partnering with? What do they need to stand for?
I mean, we're tackling the street culture football, right? I just discovered this brand a week ago because the same agent is repping Dave. That's also repping Clint 419. He's called. I don't know if you know him. Clint London or whatever he's called on Instagram. He made this brand called Cortez or Cortez. I always pronounce it wrong. And then I was talking to those guys who are a little bit more into the whole like street culture in the UK. And this guy has a whole generation in the chokehold. Like if you now go on this Cortez brand on Instagram, you see each post has like between 1,000 and 10,000 comments. So that's a thing that I also want to teach the industry. Don't ever look at followers. Followers is the most broken metric in the world. When people come to me, like the CMOs, and say, look, they have 6 million followers, they should be in Ball League. And then you analyze it and they're like, they have 0 engagement, 0 community. If they're saying tomorrow I'm in Berlin, 9.5 people are going to show up. So we should stop measuring followers. If you now tell me tomorrow you need 2 million followers, we do a little bit of a media campaign and you will have 2 million followers. We'll raffle away on your channel a Mercedes and say you have to follow to get the Mercedes. You will have 2 million followers. Like, it's the easiest thing to get, but that doesn't mean that has 0 value. So we have to stop measuring followers. We have to measure engagement and community. And that's very hard to measure for rookies, I guess, like myself. I didn't know how to measure it. I still don't know fully how to measure it. But followers is it has no indication if somebody is relevant or not. 0.
Why didn't you make it an extension of careers? Instead of players retiring, they actually go to Baller and kind of finish their careers with you. Amazing 2 seasons with you, and you have your Podolskis of the world, and you have them finish their careers with you. They have amazing followers already, so you're not building followers for people, but you're also giving them a career with young people who they need to engage as their new fan base.
Yeah.
You're helping them, they're helping you way more efficiently than you're helping this current crop of players.
Yeah, but that's what we're doing. Like, we have, I think, 20 people who played Bundesliga on our roster.
Yeah.
But that's not... So if you analyze why the UFC was successful and then look at who were the stars in each year, right? And then I think the first names you guys might know is like George St. Pierre, maybe, or John Jones. Those were like the first that made it out of this very brutal niche. culture, right? So, but those people were still nobodies compared to what then came with the Conor McGregor. He made the UFC famous. The UFC was unknown until Conor McGregor made it known.
What do you think he did to do that?
Well, multiple things. He's a star. He's a natural star. He's a entertainer. He's a storyteller. He's all of that. So if we would rely on old guys leaving us, right, just like maybe the MLS is doing right now, which they're relying on the Marco Reus, on the Zlatans, on the Messis of this world to make this league maybe successful. I mean, you need to create your own heroes to make your league big, or you never outgrow their fandom.
Do you think Miami will outlast Messi?
No chance. Never. Not in the history of football.
Do you think the World Cup will create a sustained culture and love of football in the US?
If they do it right, yes. If they do it right, it can be done. The game needs to maybe change a little bit. An average first of all, it's the most played sport in the US. That's what people
Soccer?
Yeah. It's the most played sport. Every kid played soccer. Why? Because it's not a contact sport that much. People don't get hurt. It's also like an easy
the easiest thing to do.
But also when you look at actually the rise in the Latino population in America, it's the fastest growing segment in the US, and actually it's the number one sport.
Of course, and not only that, also the typical white kid American plays soccer. I don't know the ratio right now, but every second kid played soccer in the US. Like, it's crazy.
Okay, so would you be long MLS or long Americans loving European football?
I would say the Love Ball League. I would say they need to have a new form of how to consume the sport that shows them how exciting it's going to be.
So can we start on this? Because this is what we haven't actually kind of dug into it. I think it's really important. Franchises.
Yeah.
Right. How do I get a franchise? Who has the franchises? You've mentioned the heroes. You've mentioned the names, the massive names that we know you've got in. Can you just give us like an understanding of that?
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, we have people like KSI, like Dave, like Figo, like John Terry, Gary Lineker, Micah, and Alan have a team.
And so what's the deal there?
Well, they have to do certain obligations, meaning out of 12 game days, they need to be in the venue 6 times. They need to post a story on game day referring that our stream is now live. They need to do posts that we're looking for players. They need to do posts. They have a certain catalog of things that they need to do, and they get an amount of money for that.
So there's a revenue share of what, their franchise?
No, it's not a revenue share. It's a paid deal.
Does that not feel like cheap? Like, can you not give them ownership of a team?
Yeah, if they perform like we want them to perform, they're getting ownership of the team. But if we now go around saying, here's your ownership, and then they don't fall in love with it, or they whatever, we gave somebody a team who absolutely hates Baller League, right? So we don't know if they perform how they need to perform. We don't know if it's their big love. We can only give you a team if you say, this is, my wife is number 1 and number 2 is Baller League.
So who of the 8 teams you got in the UK...
12.
The 12 teams you got coming to the UK, who's owning them at the moment?
Oh, everything is owned by the league.
Okay. And then you'll sell the franchises when you're confident that there's this kind of love, a bit like what the 100 have done with the ECB.
And then we won't only sell, we will also give them the team heads, which created the identity, give equity to keep doing the obligations that they need to do. And that automatically, with media value, that we can go out to sponsors and say, now you can get the chest of this team, now you can get the sleeve of this team. And you know what? We can guarantee you probably more eyeballs than a lower Premier League team, because, I don't know, Mini Minter is saying, I'm doing a story each game day, I'm doing a... Right?
Of your current paid deals with the different people, who is the most effective at driving traffic back when they post a story, when they post?
We can't measure, again, because we're on Twitch and YouTube, and they don't allow us to have pixels in place to say, look, here's the story link, the unique story link, and there's now something in the back end, and we can track exactly who sent the traffic. There's indicators, but I would lie if I can judge. There's comments that you can analyze and all of that.
Who do you think is the biggest needle mover?
Viewership-wise, who sends us the most viewers? It's not the football players. The US league is starting in March, UK league is starting in January. So with them, we cannot measure it. In both of those territories, I would put my hand in fire that it's going to be KSI and IShowSpeed.
Was it harder to get the buy-in from football communities, from your Figos, from your John Terrys, than it was to get it from the KSIs and the IShowSpeeds, based on where they live now,
fame-wise and everything.
Yeah, wasn't they understand this industry, right? They understand the people that you're speaking to. Whether the football, Gary Lineker is a very different profile to KSI.
Yeah, I can't tell you because it's usually the agent and that whole world that's tough. Once you had the talent, you can explain it. We never got to know. We never got to know of a single person, and that's not something I'm sitting here like. Oh, we literally never got to know if we wanted somebody, and he said, "Oh no, I don't like it."
There sounds like there's a lot of future value. What you're basically doing is, you're making it accessible. You're democratizing football. You're creating an environment where people can get access to this and they can get involved and they love it, and it becomes ancillary to their entertainment. And then there's the media rights. Then there's the commercialization through franchise sale, etc. Then you can start adding new franchises. I'd imagine you'll be able to expand the leagues when you want them to. Like that, is that the business model?
Yeah, I mean, and more, right? I mean,
what else?
Look, we had 62,000 applications of players in Germany to play in this league. Of course, 98% could never make it in Baller League just because they're like me now, old and fat and something like that. Like we cannot play Baller League anymore, but we still have applications. That's something.
So if I want to be a player, what do I have to do?
Pay me money. Now,
do I have to have the credentials of going through an academy? Do I have to be a professional football player?
What's happening usually, we have proactive scouting of our scouting team, and then we have in-house, inbound, right, applications. And there are certain questions. What was the highest league you played? What was your... So there's already filters in place where we can kind of judge, all right, this guy has the vita to play, but sometimes people don't have the vita. They just played five-a-side and whatever, and they're still ballers. So we do combines, no? And combines is a very American word. Here it would be trials, I guess, the right word. So we do 5 to 10 trials with usually 500 people each trial.
And who's scouting? Who's picking these players up? Who's saying that's a top player?
So there's 5-6 stations in place where we get facts. How quick are you with the ball? How quick are you without the ball? How high can you jump? All of that, that's just the facts. Like that's not eyeballs measuring talent. That's the fact. And then there's the scouts who are all academy scouts of Germany, of UK, saying, I think this is a good player.
Who do you not have, like, own a team, so to speak, that you would like to have in the future?
I would like Ryan Reynolds.
You like Ryan Reynolds?
I would like Ryan Reynolds. I think it's amazing what he did with Wrexham, the storytelling there, giving a club of that potential eyeballs again, which I think is one of the oldest clubs, or the oldest clubs, I believe, one of those two, of the UK, giving that club eyeballs again, giving it relevance when it comes to sponsors, just by his figure, right? What is on the chest now, TikTok or whatever?
Yeah, United Airlines.
Yeah.
So I would love Ryan Reynolds. Who would you like to see?
You mentioned new markets for you. If you go to India, one of the biggest markets you could potentially have, and you got a Tendulkar, that's probably one of the most needle-moving things you could do for your whole league.
Probably. Who do you have?
Taylor Swift. What about a women's league?
We're doing that. And it's hyper important to me too. If you consume women's football, it seems like a worse game than the men, right? Without offending anybody. Do you watch the game and you think like, oh, it's worse than a men's game, right? Why is that? So the reason why that is, it's because it's slower. Everything that's slower in football seems less skillful. The technicality of a woman is catching up rapidly. I'm close friends with Alicia Lehmann, close friends with Anna Maria Markovic, close friends with Selina Cerci, German national team. Technically, they're advanced, more advanced than me. They could ankle break me easily, I'm telling you. So we need to create a football that is enhancing their game and not... what's the opposite?
Restricting it.
Restricting their game. So a 110-meter field on a 50-meter field is going to look terrible for a women game. If we make an 80-meter game on a 40-meter pitch, 80 times 40 or something like that, we're enhancing the women game and it becomes more technical. So what we're doing at Baller League, we're trying to give them a field and go a little bit more disruptive than we're going into the men's and say, this one we can heavily disrupt because they don't have a field where they can showcase their skill.
When do you do the women's league?
Germany's season 3 or 4. I'm not sure if we make it now with January, but yeah.
And then you have female owners as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
We have most of them contracted in Germany. So yeah, it's models, it's sport personalities, it's streamers, it's football players, it's musicians, it's rapper, it's everything.
Eventually,
Yeah.
right, if this goes to plan, it is going to become a really professional environment.
For
More
sure.
money is going to come into it. The demands of that increase then because you've got responsibilities.
Yep.
Then that brings academies, structures in. It brings like almost a brand new kind of format to football. Is that in conflict at all with what you're trying to do? Is part of the beauty of what this is now, its organic nature, or is it actually a new professional system that you want to build out of this?
Yeah, it's just right now we give it this like natural touch of street football, which is usually not that professional. If it keeps going like it is audience-wise, right, growing and people having the first contact with football now, as like maybe our average audience is way older than we thought. Our average audience on live consumption is 22 to 35, which we thought were going to be way younger. But if now we keep tackling that the first contact now 12-year-old has with football or a 7-year-old is Baller League because one of his or her heroes are involved with Baller League, it's going to be very tough to get that fan away of Baller League and towards Stoke City. I like Stoke City. I mean,
Can I throw out one?
yeah.
I think Nike is one of the biggest short brands in sport.
Short meaning you would short
like,
it?
Lost their way, strategic misdirection, eaten alive by multiple different brands across different categories. CEO left, probably a good thing. Why am I wrong or am I right?
You're heavily wrong.
Go on.
I mean, you might be right. You know way more about the stock market than I do, so you might be right on shorting them. Perception-wise, brand-wise, I disagree. Sales-wise, again, I cannot judge. Market share, I cannot judge. Brand-wise, if you now go out in the street, and we can do that, and ask 500 kids playing five-a-side tonight, you're going to have a majority, and I'm going to say 65% saying Nike is cooler than maybe the German brand.
Then a German brand.
The German brand. He can't even bring himself to say it.
What's the Adidas.
Yeah.
Not Puma.
If you give them, Messi, Ronaldo, if you give them Nike, Adidas, you go out right now, ask 500 or 1,000 kids on the courts playing football.
They'll go Nike.
I say 65 Nike and north of that.
Yeah.
So that's perception, that's brand. And now
But I
you
think
come
that's
with
legacy. I think that's legacy, and it's
that's
losing.
a big one too.
But it's losing it.
Yeah, but they're still the number. They're still Nike.
What do you think is the best football kit created?
It is the I have 2 or 3. It is either the 98 or 94 Romanian national shirt. This one is great, and I hope I'm not quoting the year wrong, but that one was crazy, and I think it was 2002 Netherlands jersey. I think that was lit as hell. And then what was in the 90s? Oh, there was one team in the night. Oh, the 1990 Colombia jersey. That was who was the guy number 10 for Colombia? Valderrama.
Yeah.
Valderrama in the 1990
Delivered the best kit.
Colombia. Yeah, that was crazy. The yellow and the red things here. It probably was Adidas. So
We're going to do a quick fire. I'm going to start. If you were to write a kind of pre-mortem, which is a reason why it won't work, what is the reason why Baller won't work?
Because we built hype and didn't deliver.
Which market is best set for Baller?
UK.
Wow.
Over South America.
Yeah.
I just think South America straight away. You go and put this in Brazil.
I agree totally.
It's
UK.
just smash.
So
Why?
this is going to work wherever communities are in place, wherever people follow people. The most followed influencer in the world when it comes to globally. No, you have some countries, especially Brazil, where Anitta has 70 million, Ronaldinho has 80 million, just because the size of the country also. But when it comes to global factor, global stardom, go to Azerbaijan and people are going to recognize you. Then not so many Spanish-speaking Latino countries are going to be, the people are going to be recognized if they go to Azerbaijan. If KSI or IShowSpeed or whoever goes to Baku, he's going to be recognized there. So that brings us in a global game where suddenly no matter where we go, people are going to know Baller League. That makes the rollout after this very easy, because that means, just like me, I saw Michael Jordan drink Gatorade and suddenly it was brought to Germany. I was like, wow, finally it's here. So that's what's going to happen now, where we're going to bring Baller League to Japan, and they're going to say, yes, man, finally it's here. I watched this. I didn't understand anything or whatever. I mean, they speak better English than I do, but finally it's coming. So that's why UK.
Bring.
Yeah.
This is the Minister for Culture for Saudi. We would like you to do an event in Saudi. We will organize everything, pay you a lot of money. Would you do that?
Probably,
you have no control over brand.
Oh, no, then not. No chance. If you give me, if we can do Baller how we do it, which we decide everything, we're going to come tomorrow. Why not? I don't think they're ruining football or anything like that. That's in the modern perception.
Do you think Ronaldo and the Saudi league will last? Like, do you think it's like Messi in Miami?
It's the same discussion than Live and PGA, where I'm like a chameleon. I'm changing my opinion on a daily basis. So everything that I say now, I'm going to watch in 2 weeks and say I hate myself for it. So I don't think so, no. I think football just has a huge problem to be exciting, and I don't think the Saudi league is then suddenly exciting.
Who would your dream sponsor be? Which brand would you say most closely aligns the Baller?
Nike.
What about front of shirt one?
Everything that lives within our audience, I would say Spotify, I would say Uber Eats, I would say Apple. I think are they involved in sports sponsoring?
No,
Apple,
not
That's
at all.
why. Then I would say number one, Apple. I mean, how cool is it? First ever big sponsorship Baller League.
Messi's probably deal with them as the only thing they've ever even ventured into.
Yeah.
They're not big on.
And that's like a rev share. It's
Yeah.
not an actual.
Yeah,
not
it's
a
on
deal.
it's in the MLS deal structure around that. So I would say those brands, wherever you go around as a 18-year-old and you are having a daily touch with those brands are out.
Match day.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing to like do?
Right now,
Yeah.
if I'm on match day,
Yeah.
referees.
What?
Yeah, we are having referees, Bundesliga referees, right? We have Babak Rafati, which this is one of the most interesting stories in Ball League. Babak Rafati was our FIFA referee in Germany. So top 3 referee in Germany for the Bundesliga, was allowed to whistle the Champions League and everything. He tried to commit suicide. This is 14 years ago, maybe. In front of the game of Lukas Podolski in Cologne. So it was the pressure that was getting to him, and all of that stuff. He explains this to me a lot because I'm super interested in what happens in a human to do this, especially if you see him now. And there was a switch, and he said, now it's over. And so the first game he ever whistled, and I think it's 16 years ago, to be honest. The first game he ever whistled was in January, Ball League, ever since then. So I remembered Babak when I wrote this as like, he was really one of our best referees ever. And I was like, how crazy would it be if I get him back? So I sent him multiple emails, never got something back, found out his number, talked to him, and he was like, I think this is it. This is what I was waiting for. And he's doing a lot of like educational stuff now with CEOs and all of that. When did I notice the switch might be now in retrospective? So now my point is, that was just a very interesting story. That's why I want to tell you. If you see him now on Ball League Day, his smile is to hear. He has the most wonderful son, the most wonderful wife. He can talk super openly about this. Even on our stream, on our show, he's talking to the like kids who maybe don't remember him, what happened and stuff like that, of course. Long story short, we have these referees who for 20, 30 years learned the rules of football, how they're done now. Suddenly you need to learn our rules of football, which not only do we approach maybe some rules different once you're over the middle line, you cannot go back anymore, right? Which is the NBA backcourt violation, because we want the ball possession change. But also we don't whistle fouls that are whistled. So all of the, I'm standing with my back towards the goal, getting the pass, the defender is behind me. And usually if you fall forward, you get that foul whistled 9 out of 10 times, right? So, but that's not a foul. Like, that's never ever a foul. Like, so we are trying not to whistle anything that's deep inside the DNA of a referee. We're like, don't whistle it, don't whistle it. It's not a foul. He doesn't need to fall. If he doesn't want to fall, he doesn't need to fall. He wants to fall because he knows you're going to whistle. So they all fell first couple game days. They all fell. We didn't whistle. They got under pressure. They started whistling it again, and we didn't have like a consistency, right? So I would say still to get the referees into this is Baller League, this is our brand, this is our values, that's the toughest.
Yeah. Sex aside,
Six-a-side.
You get to make a team, your dream six-a-side team to compete in Baller League from traditional players. From
Dead
football.
or alive?
Dead or alive. Anyone you want.
Probably more modern players, no, because the game is very technical. So I'm more modern. I mean, like the 90s game, 2000s game, and not like the more like 60, 70, 80 game where there was Beckenbauer, there was all of these legends, no. But going a little bit more modern, I'll put my German national goalkeeper in there just because he's good with the feet and the hands. One of the most important positions to play in Ball League 6-side. So I would put Manuel Neuer in goal. I would put Paolo Maldini. I would put probably Roberto Carlos in the back, to be honest, too. I would put Zidane in there. I would put R9 in there. I have to put Ronnie, yeah. I would put Ronaldinho also. Do you remember Adel Tarabat or whatever his name
Adel
is?
Tarat, yeah.
I would put him maybe too.
Alongside Maldini.
God, are you kidding me?
Hatem Ben Arfa.
Adel Tarabat, what he does with the ball is unseen. The streets won't forget.
Maldini, Carlos, Zidane, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho,
Yeah.
Tarat.
Final one. Where is Baller in 10 years?
It's an established professional football league that is watched globally around the world.
How much is it worth then?
You're better in this whole thing than I am.
What if UFC sells to Endeavor for 4 billion?
Was it 4? Wasn't it more?
Well, no, it's 4 to
Was that
Endeavor,
cheap?
and then the WWE thing priced it at about 12.
Now it's valued at 12.
Yeah, because that WWE merger was about, I think it valued it at about 12. But Endeavor bought it in 2016 for 4 billion. 2016 as well. He's talking about Conor McGregor earlier. Like, that wasn't what it is now.
Okay, I would, with inflation rate and everything, I would probably say 20
billion.
Thank you so much, dude. You are a star,
Thanks
man.
so much.
Thank you, guys.